Welcome to Pages and Pods. In this episode, we'll explore how humanity communicates with the divine. Close your eyes. Imagine that every ancient tongue, every prayer is part of one vast conversation calling out the name of the cosmos. Across ages and continents, humanity found ways to call the infinite. This podcast will introduce you to how to open six of those doorways, from ancient ritual summoning to the vibratory focus of the yogis. When speaking about paganism, people imagine carved statues and urns of burning incense, and it was true for the vast majority of the ancient practitioners. In the polytheisms of Babylon, Greece, and Egypt, the name of a god was not a metaphor or a numeric, a mystical computation of divine origin. It was the actual name of the god. The petitioner summoned a deity, directly calling out for an audience. It was a bold move and filled with consequences, desirable, fatal, and unpredictable. For example, when a priest invoked Marduk at the Ekudu festival, thunder wasn't a sign, it was a response. The priest was hoping for abundance, harmony, or even relief from disaster. But were the people worthy? Was Marduk angry? What did he want? Perhaps a goddess could help. Odysseus called on Athena for protection, but Poseidon had other plans for him. In the cosmology of ancient Greece, it might be better to dance with Pan than to invoke the powers of Hecate, though they were both capricious. But not everyone imagined a god of wood or stone. The pre-Socratic philosophers such as Thales, Anaximander, or Parmenides had other ideas. They understood gods to be forces in the universe. The names and attitudes of the gods were not like those of superhuman beings, but metaphors to be unlocked through the pursuit of reason. Similarly, for the priests in ancient Egypt, Horus wasn't only a sky god, he was the symbol of awakening consciousness. Their intent wasn't to worship Horus, they wanted to become Horus. The tension between absolute belief and mystic understanding is repeated in all religions. There is a simple meaning for the common people and an esoteric meaning for the seeker of the divine. In Judaism, the tetragrammaton, the yud, the he, the vav, and the he, is the forbidden name of the divine. 4 letters to be read, but not spoken, because this is the mystical essence of the Creator with which he breathed life into the cosmos. Each letter unfolds creation itself, point, expansion, and connection. So sacred is the Kabbalistic meaning of the name that the observant Jew exchanges the sound of hey to k, so as not to mistakenly say the name out loud. The name conducts God's essence from the point of emanation to the physical reality in which we exist. The letters are the ontological architecture of reality. When spoken aloud, they call on the full power of Shekhinah, God's presence in our reality. Who has so much hubris or careless ambition to say such a thing? So, if Jews can't call on God directly by name, how is he manifest on earth? Through the good deeds outlined by the 613 mitzvot. Good deeds complete the cosmic circuit. Without a name, Jews can't call God down to earth. Instead, they connect their being to him through prayers and deeds, from kneading the dough to make challah for Shabbat to giving help to a neighbor. The Jew with a righteous soul brings God's will into the world through actions inspired by words. A millennium passed from the time of the pre-Socratic Greek philosophers to those we know as Neoplatonists. They brought forward a new way of invoking a god, and they called it theurgy. These philosophers taught that divine names aren't just words. They're synthemata, living symbols connecting the soul to the nous, the divine mind. A ritual invocation of sacred symbols and tones activates the divine intellect. A worthy petitioner will receive illumination and inner order. But first, the Hermeticist must purify the soul and prepare the mind. Only then can the theurgist receive the mind of God. Beginning with Julian the Chaldean, the one great mind was summoned with sound, fasting, and sacred words. Here, the act of naming becomes the act of remembering who we are, fragments of the Eternal One. Listen to a chant from a Greco-Egyptian theurgist who lived in the early part of the first millennium. The full verse is found in the Greek magical papyrus, discovered in Thebes, Egypt, and published in English in 1853. Primal substance of my substance, first breath of breath, the breath that is in me, first fire, God given for the blending of the mendings in me. First fire of fire in me, first water of my water, the water in me, primal earth essence of the earthly essence in me, thou perfect body of me. Now it's time to turn east, from the Hellenistic halls to the temples of India, the birthplace of Hinduism, and discuss the sound that creates worlds. In Hindu tradition, creation begins not with form, but with vibration, Sabda Brahma, the sound that is God and vibrates reality into existence. For the practitioner, the chant, the bodily positions, and inner calm of the yogi creates a lucent understanding of existence. The connection to the divine is activated by a mantra of sacred sound through which you gain awakening, union, and transcendence. From novice to yogi master, the Om is a universal call for awakening. Om is the primordial vibration, the breath before creation. As an archetypal utterance, Om represents the same spiritual current the Hebrew mystics sensed in the four-letter name. The pulse that moves through a theurgist chant, the Christian to cry out the Savior of the world and true meaning of the words when Odysseus, standing on the Trojan shore, called upon Athena. It is the sound in which all invocations converge, the resonance through which the great mysteries coalesce into form and consciousness rises towards its source. When spoken with intent, Om becomes not a Hindu word, but the universal symbol of ascent, the seed of every prayer, every name of God, every awakening. Now, for the most of the European and English-speaking world, we will enter the halls of the great cathedrals to find the sound that resonates Christ. In Christianity, the divine isn't distant. It's already inside you, waiting to be received. Christ waits to be called. The Word was made flesh. The infinite was sacrificed in compassion. What better place to connect with the Savior than inside an edifice designed with sacred geometry to blend their prayers into harmony with Christ? The mystical apostle John wrote, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, And the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. The divine becomes mortal, and his mortality becomes sacrifice, through which all humanity is welcomed into initiation, into a covenant of personal salvation. John continued, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. In Matthew, Jesus says, take this bread. And when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to the disciples, saying, take and eat, this is my body. And after his disciples drank the wine, he stated, for this is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. The connection is made through prayer. The Logos, incarnated, was sacrificed and is ever present. The relationship is made when you believe. There's no temple, no thunder, no initiation or preparation, just breath, heart, and surrender. With heartfelt words, open the heart to receive. British imperialism unintentionally seeded the late 19th century occult Renaissance, carrying home fragments of Hindu metaphysics, Egyptian temple lore, and Greek esoterica that Western seekers eagerly reforged into theosophy and Hermeticism and the new solar Christologies. Out of this imperial cross-pollination of cultures where Maria, Sophia, and Isis circled, the Maypole and the Luciferian fringe blended with mystical syncretists. Rudolf Steiner emerged as a singular figure who separated disciplined spiritual science from the era's darker popular occult currents. Rudolf Steiner called humanity to join the cosmic order as conscious co-creators. He saw Christ not as a figure of history or as a personal savior, but as the solar being who animates the evolution of the cosmos for which man is the key. He found a moment in time he called the mystery of Golgotha, the spilling of the solar radiance on the earth in the form of the blood of Christ. He recast the vision of the Battle of Ahriman and Ahura Mazda, foretold by the Persian mystic Zoroaster, as an existential battle between humanity's angelic evolution and the materialistic forces who would crush the Christ impulse. Lucifer also appears on stage, emerging from a doorway marked selfishness and pride. We are in collaboration with the hierarchies of spirit for cosmic evolution. Steiner sought a way of connection, and he called it eurythmy, the spoken word made visible. He sought a way of collaborating with the earth, and he called it biodynamics. He saw the path to spiritual development as a lifelong goal and developed the Waldorf schools to teach children how to get there. He fundamentally changed the perspective of Earth's creation from that of a creation leading to an ultimate end and reunification with a creator to something higher. He saw creation leading to even greater creations. Men become angels. Angels become perfected beings. And the foundation doesn't rely on humanity's belief and supplication to the gods, but instead, it is through the human collective to elevate our current level of existence into a higher plane by connecting to solar power called Christ consciousness. The moral imagination of the human joins with the Christ impulse in creative participation, ethical awakening. How do we do this? by listening to the breath of the earth, the rhythm of the planets, and the frolic of the elementals. In that moment, intuition blooms. When do we sow? How do we heal? The Christ of the sun shines through action and evolves through prayer. Here we stand before 6 doors, 6 ways of communicating, one infinite conversation. Judaism hears being itself in the divine utterance. Paganism summons presence through invocation. Neoplatonism opens the gates of reality through its formula. Hinduism vibrates existence through its primordial sounds. Christianity seeks relationship through prayer. Anthroposophy gestures the future into form. They are 6 paths, 6 approaches, each touching the same mystery. When you speak with reverence, the universe leans closer. When you listen with intention, the divine responds.